It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. On this episode, we have the one and only Tasemere Gathers. She's in the building, and she has her company right there with her to keep her going. How you doing, Tasemere?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I know today we'll be talking about how entrepreneurs can navigate the business ecosystem, but you must tell us who's our guest expert with us today.
Our guest expert is Zoe. She's been in heavy training for almost 2 years. Eventually, she will move up to the C-suite, but right now she's an intern.
I like it. I love how you do that. Now, question for entrepreneurs are out there. They're wondering, what holds people back? What's some of the challenges you've seen that holds entrepreneurs back from really having a successful business?
One of the main challenges is access to finances. And so getting the startup capital or the working capital that you need to either start or sustain your business is one of the biggest challenges. Second to that would be having the right ecosystem while you're navigating the business journey.
What do you say for the folks that are out there? And we'll get into a little deeper dive about who you are, and they're watching you saying, "Wow, Shay, how's she able to do that?" I'm someone, and I'm a mom. Maybe I got to take care of kids. Maybe they're a dad. They got to take care of kids. They have to work a full-time job. They're a full-time entrepreneur. They're taking care of other folks. They're like, how is she able to multitask? Shay, I'm just curious. What does she do to allow her to stay so focused? So I guess my question is, what do you say to the person that's so busy out there? It's like, man, I just don't have time to do anything. How in the world does Tasemere find time to do the things she does?
I juggle a lot. I don't think that any one day is the same. I know what I want to get done that day, and if it requires me to stay up a few hours later to get that done or wake up earlier, I just make it work.
Wow, that's amazing, by the way. Now, for folks that are just meeting you for the first time, they have no idea who you are. Some people read your bio. Some people have not read your bio. Some people have been to the website. Some people have not. They might be curious, Shay, who is this person? Before she tells me how wonderful she is and the great things she's doing in the world, what's her backstory that led her to having the business she's doing now? So take a few moments, if you would, and tell us a little about who you are and what's your backstory that led you to doing what you're doing now.
So I'm Tajmir, as we said earlier in the segment. I'm an ecosystem builder. I run a economic development and workforce development firm that focuses on entrepreneurship, and we produce entrepreneurial activations. We can manage programs and create programs. We also work with others in the ecosystem to amplify the work and the impact that we're doing with entrepreneurs.
Mm. And how did you get started in that path?
Well, the story of how I got started is can be a comical one to some people. So I got started when I was working full time for a business improvement district in New York City. And at the time, I was dating someone who was really busy. And he was like, hey, you want to hang out way too much. You need to go get a hobby. And so I started a business that had a hobby that turned into a business that turned into me quitting my job 2 years later. So that is the long and hard, fast truth of how I got started. But I was always in this space. So pivoting into being a consultant and developing a firm was the natural progression for the space that I was already in.
Yeah, and when you first started your firm, were you nervous? Were you scared? I mean, did you just say, "Man, I'm out of here. I quit, ladies and gentlemen," and then did you just walk out there, or were you there's some uneasiness?
No. So when I started the company, I actually was still working full time. And my job was not a standard 9 to 5. Sometimes I worked 60 hours a week, sometimes I worked 80 hours a week. But I just slowly built, like, leaned into it, because at first it was a hobby. I wasn't necessarily taking myself that seriously. Even when I got my first customer, I didn't really take myself seriously. I thought I would be someone that had a full-time job, and this was just something that I did on the side. But what really started to happen was that I started enjoying the work that I called doing it on the side. I started enjoying that more than my full-time job. And then life happened where I was kind of like, I think I might want to get another job or apply for something else. And my friends were like, "Have you ever thought about being a full time entrepreneur?" And I was like, "Are you crazy? That's not that's not going to work." But as I started really leaning into what that could look like, I just decided to take the risk. But it was very anxiety driven, especially coming from a space where I didn't know any other full time entrepreneurs. No one in my family was an entrepreneur that was doing it full time. And so I didn't really know what that path was going to look like.
And now that you're doing it full time, we're going to talk to you how you help entrepreneurs in a moment. How does it feel? Because it seems like you're busier now than you were when you had two jobs.
It feels great, to be able to not just provide for myself, but for my company to also provide for others. Either we're paying other independent contractors, or we're providing opportunities for college students to learn and test their strategies and what they need to do. It's really a great thing to see what we have turned into.
Yeah. So what you do today for the persons out there that's saying, okay, Shay, she mentioned this ecosystem that helps entrepreneurs. Two-part question. Number one, are these brand new entrepreneurs? Are these seasoned entrepreneurs? Let's say they've been in business, 5 or more years. So take a moment and talk about two things. One, I'll ask two questions. First, how does the ecosystem help the entrepreneur that's been in business for less than 3 years?
Okay, so when you think about entrepreneurship and you think about the ecosystem, in the past, most people call that networking, or they would say, I'm going to go to a one stop shop where I can get everything done. But entrepreneurship is large, right? Like, you can have some folks that started like I did that just have a hobby, versus you have some people that are trying to raise money through an investor. You have other folks that are trying to really sustain a legacy business that's going to succeed their lifetime, and they're going to pass this down to their children or their families, right? And so when you're thinking about the ecosystem, you're really thinking about all the different practitioners and spaces that touch an entrepreneur, just one entrepreneur. They get touched by so many different people throughout the business economy that you need to start to understand, well, who do I need to know, connect with? Either they're my customer or they have support that they can offer me, and how do I move through this journey in a way that doesn't seem so um all over the place, right? Like, you're not always thinking through, well, I need this resource, and then I need this resource, and then I need this resource. And as practitioners, what our job is to make that a little bit more easier, right? So for us to also understand all the different people and places and institutions that touch just one entrepreneur, and how can we connect you from hobby to exit, right? So how do we connect you along the way to all the specialists, practitioners, groups, resources that you need in order to grow your business to where you want it to be?
Wow, when you get talking about it, I can feel the energy coming out. I feel the excitement coming out. What do you enjoy most about what you're doing now?
I enjoy seeing entrepreneurs really move through the industry, and to see where they are when you think back to, other entrepreneurs that you've met. And 3 years later or 5 years later, they're doing all these audacious things that they thought were just dreams when they first started, and then you actually see them growing into this new person right before your eyes. You see somebody transform from I just am a solopreneur to, oh my gosh, this person is thinking like a corporate structure, like they're thinking about mergers and acquisitions and exits, or they just hired someone and now they're putting food on someone else's table. You get to see just the growth and how this business just touches so many other people and really impacts workforce in a very beautiful way.
I love it. And I think it's a perfect segue as you were talking about that, how it touches someone in a beautiful way. People are watching you right now and they're saying, wow, she has it all together, man. She has herself. There's her daughter there, man. Her family's there. She's just living the life. And they're probably curious, Shay, has she ever had a setback? And we do have a segment here called Today is My January 1st. Now, for those folks that know what we're about to do, we go into the segment, Today is My January 1st. You can go ahead and say those magical words. You waited all day to say those words. So go ahead and say with me, Today is my January 1st.
Today is my January 1st.
And for those folks who watching for the very first time, and you're like, yeah, I haven't seen this, man. What's going on? Today is my January 1st. Is one of our personal mantras here at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means the past no longer equals the future. And so my question for Tasemere on the other side is, number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? What do you hear? What do you hear? And number two,
I hear
when was a time
expansion
in your life where there was a setback, and how did you bounce back from it? If you ever had any challenges, maybe your life's been perfect. We don't know, but we're going to find out now. When was the time you had a setback as well?
So one, when I hear today is my January 1st, I think of expansion. I think of dreams. I think of what do I want to be doing? And setbacks. Oh gosh, I've had so many setbacks or challenges that I've had to navigate. I would say one challenge that constantly comes up is really leaning into discernment, right? Really leaning into, do I trust this other person? Whether that is a partnership, a collaboration, a new person that wants to maybe join the team in some kind of way. How do I, one, safeguard my IP, and but at the same time not feel like someone is trying to steal things from me, so I'm not paranoid about that. And then also thinking through, well, what am I going to do if that does happen? And so, what do I do if there is a copycat that comes out with something that I just came out with, and now they're going to do something very similar, or in some instances, the same thing? How do I navigate that space? Who do I talk to? Who do I rely on? Who is my support? That's something that constantly is a challenge that I find. And the segment of what we do is our entrepreneurial activations.
I love it, man. Said so well. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being so transparent. You know, one of my favorite questions I ask when we have on these segments, especially when we have time, is when you look back, you've had a lot of mentors along this journey of life, by the way. And the question is going to be, what's one of the biggest lessons you learned from any of your mentors that you want to share with the audience? But I want to preface it for the audience so that they understand you've read a lot of books over the years. You watch, I don't know, countless videos over the years. You probably work with different mentors. You've had different folks that have taught you along the way. So it's kind of an unfair question. So I'm not going to ask you to come down the mountain with the 10 commandments here. But I will ask you, of all the mentors you've had, what's one of the lessons you learned from any of your mentors that you want to share with us, the audience, that we can all benefit from? What would it be and why?
I would say one of the lessons that I have learned is to stand on my square, and understand that what I'm doing is a combination of all the experiences that I've had, good, bad, indifferent, successes and failures, things that I've learned. And while it might look like someone else or individual and or institution is doing something very similar to what I'm doing. And even though it may look like there's scarcity in this marketplace, and why would someone want to work with me and my firm over someone else's firm, that I know what I'm doing and my experiences are real and they're meaningful and I figured some things out, and the people that I'm supposed to be on the journey with will be there and others will get off at the next stop, and that is completely okay.
Yeah. And your firm is able to help folks all over the world or just in your local area. Talk a little bit about the reach and how you're able to work with folks no matter where they are in the country.
So it's very interesting. We tend to partner a lot with other groups. And so we have been in India. We were thinking about doing some stuff in Canada. We do things all over the country. And so it's very interesting when you lean into ecosystem building. What you learn is that there's power over collaboration versus competition. And so now in leaning into that thought process and also meeting a moment where others are also leaning in, I don't think of the DM firm as having geographical boundaries anymore.
Yeah, for the person that has a mindset of scarcity and like, well, wait a minute, what if someone gets to know what I'm doing? Is there enough for everybody? And it's not everybody. I know all of you are not like that, but there might be some folks out there that are thinking, wow, she partners, she collaborates, but I don't want people to know who my customers are, and I don't want people getting my people. You know, some people have that mentality. So I guess the question for you really is, what do you say to the person out there who has a scarcity mindset? Are they afraid that they may lose business to other people if they partner with them? What's your philosophy?
Well, if you do that, you're never going to grow, because you need to be in a space that if it's only you and your customers that know about you, your name or your company's name isn't getting mentioned in the spaces that don't know you yet. And so the more that you hold on to something so tightly, it doesn't allow you to be innovative. The world is ever changing and ever growing, and your ideas and your methodologies need to change and grow alongside that. And so your customers today might not be your customers 2 years from now, or your customer market might expand. And if you are just so stuck on this is my customer, I don't want to share, well, then no one else in your ecosystem is going to know that you exist. No one is going to know how to partner or collaborate with you. And you're going to have a very small pool of revenue that you can pull from.
Yeah, one of the things that I admire most, and thanks for answering, by the way, I appreciate it, your honesty. One of the things that I admire most about you, we got a chance to meet and talk, and it was just a short while ago, was your ability to take action even when it's not always clear what's going to happen. And there's some folks sometimes they get stuck. If it's not perfect, if all the stars don't line up, if they don't see the plan to get there, they kind of slow down and a little hesitant. But you're the type of person that you take action. Even if there's a little fear there, you still move forward. Where did this fire come from? Your ability to take massive action, even in sometimes, not gonna say fear, but sometimes uncertain. That's what being an entrepreneur is all about. But here's the question: where does that come from? This innate ability you have to just keep taking action.
I'm not a perfectionist and I don't strive to be one. I know that some people are kind of like, it has to be perfect. Every T has to be crossed, I's have to be dotted, commas have to be in the right spot, periods need to be where they need to be. And while I appreciate that, I also feel like perfection can lead to being stagnant, because you can always find something wrong with something. And there's so much learning and conversations and growth that come from what you may consider to be a mistake. Or you might stumble onto something, as this whole reinventing yourself. I'm always challenging myself to look for what I don't see. So I know what's in front of me, but what am I missing, and how can I have fun and explore that and not take it so seriously? I don't mind failing in public. I know that's one thing that lots of people have struggles around that, but I failed a lot in my lifetime. And I find that people really gravitate towards being very honest about failing in public. I mean, when I was in high school, I couldn't even say my name in front of a group of people. I literally had to read my name off of a piece of paper. And fast forward years and decades later, I can talk in front of a crowd with no paper, but have I not gone through this experience of failing or mispronouncing a word or not getting something exactly right, I would be so stuck on that I don't get my message out and I don't build relationships and I don't grow. And just so I never, ever since I was a young child, I failed so much. It became very normal to me that in business, I don't mind taking a loss. I see it as something that I've learned and gained from.
I love it, man. I love your energy. I love where your heart is. I love you being the mom that you are right now. That is so cool, by the way. You're like so focused. You're like, boom, you're right here with all the things going on around you. I just admire your ability to stay focused. I really do. As we come down the home stretch, I do have a question. Number one, what type of clients is your firm working with these days? And number two, how can folks best connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation? How can they best reach out to you?
So my clients now are what we would call ESOs, incubators, accelerators, universities, foundations. I didn't start that way. I actually started working directly with entrepreneurs. And then, so that's for my consultancy side. For my events and activation side, that's when we work more so with the direct to entrepreneur. And so that can be someone from a startup. That can be someone that just has an idea. That can be someone that's looking to raise money. We create different types of experiences and activations around entrepreneurship to help entrepreneurs connect to the broader ecosystem. So if you're looking to find us, you can definitely look for me on LinkedIn. It's literally just my name, Tasemere Gathers. That's my platform of choice. But we also do have an Instagram called The DM Firm, and you can always email us at info@thedmfirmnyc.com.
Well, let me say two things. Number one, thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show and have your intern with us as well.
Yes, and she's into her show, so you guys haven't seen her, but here's the intern and not the back of her head, which is where she was most of the time.
Thank you so much. And thank you for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. I want you to know that you're all amazing. You're incredible. And I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that you have greatness inside you. Today is your January 1st. And for just that one reason alone, your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Che Brown. It hasn't changed. The Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone, and we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. God bless. We wish you success. Peace. Bye, Tasemere. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.